have today Nathan Lim, who is a co-author in Drunken Moments. This is a book. Now, Nathan Lim was born in Cambodia and raised in Los Angeles. He served the US Army as a medic and moved to NYC after his service and started writing poems. He has just finished a book of poetry and a chapbook and is currently working on another book. This is a short brief about Nathan, and let's have him on board. We've shared an invite. He should be joining us soon. Hi,
Hello, Akshay.
how
Hello,
are you?
everybody.
So let's get to know you a little bit more and better. From what I read here, you served the US Army as a medic. So I'd like to know what it was like and how it's been.
Well, I was a clinical medic. I wasn't a combat medic. So what we did was we did a sick call. So when we were in Baghdad, whenever the soldiers would get sick, like the cold, soldiers get sick too, like cold, or they have back pain, they would come to us. We as the medics, we would check them. We would do a checkup on them first before we would send them to the doctors. So we
Oh,
were kind of like
interesting.
like medical assistants. Um, yeah, but when there's like an emergency, then we work with the doctors.
Interesting. So we have a poet who has joined us for this event, and he says that he was a medic in the Canadian Army,
Hmm.
and we are publishing his book very soon.
Okay,
So
great.
coming back, uh, so you moved to NYC after your service and started writing poems. So then it's a very big switch over from being a medic to writing poems. So what led to that transformation?
Well, I've been writing for a long time, even before I joined the military. Um,
Oh,
yeah, I wasn't writing. I wasn't writing poetry. Writing, screenplays. I was writing screenplays. I was writing plays. Which when I'm writing plays, to me, it's kind of like writing a monologue, in a play. But then, the word choice is enhanced. But when I started writing poetry, it's kind of like similar. It's like, oh, I'm just writing a monologue. Yeah.
so did your screenplays get made into films?
Yeah. So I made, I was writing screenplays. I was sending my screenplays out when I was living in Los Angeles. I
Oh
didn't
yeah.
get, yeah, I didn't get any, responses. I didn't get any
Okay.
responses.
But
Uh,
Los Angeles is supposed to be a city where films are made quite a bit,
yes, it's very, and
if
it's,
I'm right.
yeah, and it's very competitive. Very
Oh
competitive.
yes, it is.
You know,
I can relate with that. So you said that you've published, you not published, but you finished a book of poetry and a chapbook. So what grounds are they? Have they reached any publisher or have they been published yet?
no, I'm still looking for the book. I'm still looking for a publisher. Uh,
Oh,
I was looking. There a Vanity Press approached me, but I wasn't really interested in getting published with them.
oh,
So Yeah, so I'm still looking for a publisher for the book. Same with the chapbook. You know, I'm still looking for a publisher with the chapbook. I'm still kind of working on it. Um,
Why don't you send it to us? We'll like have a look at it. It
okay,
will be nice.
okay.
Okay, so moving on, you published two poems with us in our book, Drunken Moments, this book.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to hear you recite the poems if you may. Is it?
Okay.
Uh,
Let me go ahead and find it. Let me see. Poetry nights.
do you have the book with you?
No, I don't have a book with. Well, actually, that poem is part of my book of poems, part of my poetry book. So I can
Oh,
read it.
okay.
Read it here. Okay, so I
Okay.
found it.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and read it.
Yeah.
Understanding Keynesian. Inside the apartment, I drink bourbon red to stay warm. Try reading Keynesian economics. And my mind is like, what the fuck? Outside, I'm smoking a cigarette in the cold March night, thinking about economics of the South Bronx. There's dog shit on the sidewalk. Smoked a couple of blunts an hour ago, so my mind's drifting. It's windy like winter here. Sounds of reggaeton coming my way. There's something wrong with Castro Fernandez. She staggers out of the black cab, intoxicated, her shoe in dog shit, screaming at me, "Hey, Chino, alquilar, mañana," I say. Mañana? Sí, mañana. She gives me a suspicious look and walks into her apartment, leaving a stench of Bermuda's rum and dog shit. My mind again drifts. If I wasn't so damn broke, I'd leave for California. Mañana.
Bro, can you elaborate about what exactly are you trying to express here in this book? Poem. Sorry, I'm so sorry about that.
Oh, the book or this specific poem?
The specific poem. Um,
Yeah. This is pretty much describes the environment of the Bronx. When I was living in the Bronx, it's a borough of New York. It's kind of like a tough borough. The people do not pick up the dog poop. It's always
okay.
loud. It's always loud.
Oh,
People speak Spanish, and this was a point in my life when I didn't have a lot of money. I just got out of the military, and I was pretty much I drink pretty much every single night. I was drinking, and I was always worried about rent. I was always worried about how am I going to pay rent for next month. So this is sort of like part of
oh,
economics, because Keynesian economics is all supply. You try to give the people money to spend, and that's the way how to keep the economy going. And I was always broke. I was always thinking about, how am I going to pay rent?
that really gives an insight into the poem, and it also elaborates how significant it is in this book. I really appreciate you sharing that insight.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Do you want to recite the second poem as well?
What was the second poem? I'm sorry.
The second poem was to Kennedy Fried Chicken.
Oh, okay. To Kennedy Fried Chicken. Okay. Let's see. Chicken. Okay. I didn't know I sent you that book.
Yes, you had. So it's
Okay.
very much there.
All right. So, to Kennedy Fried Chicken, a pissed off roommate asked me, "What took you so long?" Something strange happened on the way to Kennedy Fried Chicken. I got lost. The apartment buildings lined up on Grand Concourse were built by the hard hands of Jewish and Italian immigrants a century ago. And decades later, we were decorated at night by the music of Grandmaster Flash and Funky 4 Plus 1. Where was I again? I was out of cigarettes, starving for chicken, cognac, and Marlboros. Oh, in East Mauritania, I saw old men sitting on lawn chairs, nearly naked, drinking Presidentes on warm nights, smoking Dominican-made cigars, telling old stories in their native tongues, underneath the red sunset, which reflected off the windows of the government housing projects, built to touch the sky. Okay, then, I took the subway. This is the Bronx bound 4X express train. The next stop is Kingsbridge Road, near Devo Park, while waiting for the BX3. Don DeLillo, Edgar Allan Poe, Cynthia Ozick. Who else lived here? Smooth metal clanking by a shopping cart emerged out of the dark, swerving dementedly high on crack. The shopping cart was dragged by a dog, a cracked dog, decolorized, depressed, chained to the front of the cart. What I did? I enchained her, and she started to follow me, and she followed me all the way to Kennedy Fried Chicken.
Yeah, interesting. That was a very different flavor to the poem from which we just ended up reciting. The previous one, that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when I first moved to the Bronx, this is also about the Bronx. Uh, I did a lot of exploring. I always like took the bus. I walked a lot, even though it was kind of dangerous. You know, I liked walking, and I sort of like I embrace the ambiance of the Bronx. You know, it's so different. The music again. I always hear like this different type of music. People, the people there, they like to sit outside of their apartments, on lawn chairs, drinking, because sometimes it gets too hot inside the apartment, so they just go outside and just sit on the lawn chairs. And I actually saw a dog chained to a shopping cart.
Okay.
And yeah, so the thing with when I first moved to New York, I saw things that I wouldn't see. It was so like I would see things. I'll be like, oh, it would be so shocking and surprising. And I
what?
Yeah, and I love Kennedy Fried Chicken. I would go to Kennedy Fried Chicken the whole time. You only see Kennedy Fried Chicken in the Bronx and Brooklyn. You don't see it anywhere else. Well, you do see it. You do see it in Queens, but they call it Crown Fried Chicken.
I see. I'm a pure vegetarian, so I wouldn't know any which way. So, yeah, vegan completely, not even vegetarian. So that's interesting. Now coming to the point about what you were saying about you mentioned that you'd like to talk about Echo Park with us. How the marginalized communities in America. Okay, so how would you like? What would you like to share about that?
So Echo Park is the name of the chapbook that I'm almost finished. I'm still kind of working on it, but it's still almost finished. And marginalized communities have a hard time, finding a voice in America. So I wrote this because it is a community in a major city, Los Angeles, that's not really well known to the public. So and it's a big part of my childhood, and my childhood isn't really, and that's the reason why I decided to name it Echo Park. And then the main theme of my chapbook is about my child, growing up in this community, in this neighborhood, Echo Park.
No, Echo Park I've seen, and now that I recollect, some places, yes. So the Echo Park is, no, it's a park basically, I believe, in Los Angeles actually. And
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
the community there, the people there, uh, that would be, there would be some kind of minorities and racial discriminations that would be happening there. And
yeah. Well, actually, it just so when I was growing up in Echo Park, there were issues with street gangs. So there were a lot of Mexican street gangs, uh, El Salvadorian street gangs. MS-13. It's really a big street gang in the United States. Um, but then later on, in like the late 19 like around 2000 like the late 90s and early 2000, uh the middle class white, like the young whites would move to that neighborhood, and they now Echo Park is also known as like this hipster community, filled with like artists mostly.
so
So
are
it's
they
really, yeah,
segregated places for different sorts of communities, or are they allowed to
they kind
merge
of
well with
mingle,
it?
because
Okay,
hipsters are kind of like they're kind of like hip artistic types who
I see.
like to embrace different cultures. So it is kind of like a blend of like Mexican culture, gang culture, and hipster culture. So
So,
that's what.
what inspired you to capture this uh, moment, experience, place into a book that you just shared that you've put it?
Well, Echo Park is such a big, my childhood is such a big part of my adulthood. Growing up in like that gang environment. I would going to school, going to school. My class, go to elementary school. My classmates would dress up as gang members. It's like, oh, they are destined to be gang members. You know, it would be like one class. We would try to fight. My classmates would try to fight the kids in the other class. They would form their own gangs. And the other class would have their own gang. So gang culture, which I write about in my poetry here. It's prominent, and also it's just a different, and also it's also there's beauty in it as well. Like the house that I grew up in, we had a backyard with a garden. My
Mhm.
parents, my mom didn't tend to the garden, uh, but it was a fairly big garden, and I would explore that garden often. Um,
Mhm. Okay. Okay, I look forward to reading that book. That sounds very interesting to capture such a moment of your life, a precious part of your life into a book.
mhm.
But
Okay.
apart from the emotional connect that you had, as you said that you spent your childhood over there,
Mhm.
um, the readers would want to know much more than just the community culture, sorry, the gang culture or hipsters gathering there and other things that you just shared. These things may become a part of your book, I'm sure. However, don't you think that they would want to know um, what's so unique about that place? These the music or art culture. Are you saying these things that is there, the gang culture, the hipster culture, the music culture, the art culture, these things make this place very prominent and very different, apart from it being a very significant part of your childhood.
Hmm. Yeah. Also, the like the landscape uh, of uh, of Echo Park. There are a lot of hills. There are a lot of hills, and there are like houses on these hills. Uh, and walking to school, we would have like different paths home. We would have all these shortcuts. We can go to this hill or this hill, Secret Hill. So there's like a lot of like back alleys and a lot of like shortcuts that we when we were kids, we tend to explore. We like to explore, and so we have many ways to go places. Um, and also it's also very very diverse. It's a very diverse. I mean, America, big cities in America are very diverse. But I think growing up in Echo Park in the '80s, when it used to be middle class, upper middle class whites, and when the immigrants started moving in, they started moving out, and so. Um, yeah, it was kind of it was we try to figure out our way how to integrate ourselves into the community.
Interesting. So, just a brief about the book that your poems have been published in. It was cover was designed by Connie Darris from Germany.
Mm-hmm.
The book is designed by Laura Antonioli from England,
Mm-hmm.
and the rest of the distribution happens through our website mainly, and otherwise through Goodreads. You can see the reviews. For Crossing, you can see the places where the book has reached out. There are different parts of the world this book has gone to. There are lots of countries this book is being read.
Mm-hmm.
And we are privileged to have you as a poet in this book. Your poems are really, really in depth and catchy. Really interesting to see the story behind the poem, to be very honest. Both of them had some insight of something which is usually on a daily basis a person will not come across so easily. And with that, I'd just like to know from you whether you have anything else to share with us.
No, I mean it's really late. Yeah, thank you everybody who joined. I appreciate you, Akshay, for having me as a guest poet to read a couple of my poems. Uh,
My pleasure.
yeah.
Do contribute in our upcoming anthologies as well. And we also started a new brand where we publish short stories and novels called Free Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Easily, you can easily find it on our channels and on Submittable.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll also share it with you. And with that, I'd like to know from you whether I can use this video to be put up on our social media channels, YouTube and other places. Do you give us that approval for using it?
Yes, definitely. You can use this, uh,
Oh,
you know, however you like.
okay. Thanks. Okay, so with that, we come to the end of this event. I'd like to thank the audience who joined in. There were two people who joined in who were our poets also, apart from the rest. Um, and I thank them. I thank Instagram, and I thank you for giving us your time. And With that, we come to the end of the event. Namaste.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.